Hi everybody. I know on Sunday we talked about hip decoupling exercises and ground to standing movements very briefly, and I used those to obviously get you guys moving as we're doing the continuing education about the 4Q model of training. So what I'm going to do now is, I promise I'm not ignoring your question, Brandon. Rather, I'm going to not provide you more additional exercises, but give you guys the ones that we did on Sunday, because if you are like most people, and if you haven't practiced them from Sunday until today, Tuesday, you've forgotten them. So let's start with two basic hip decoupling exercises that we did. Hip decoupling, the premise is essentially people's hips get stuck in a position, right? And so like they're going to be seated, and the backside of their body is going to be, tissues are going to be congested, joints are going to be obviously in less than ideal alignment. We got to get more movement through the joints in an intelligent way in order to get those full movements to be extremely productive. So maybe start with that overhead squat, or a squat and reach, or any type of assessment, just one movement pattern that you want to assess your client on, and then go ahead and do a couple of hip decoupling exercises. First thing, slide one knee slightly forward, an inch or so, other hand about a hand length, let the stomach hang out, let the head relax, and then just glide the hips. And just cue your client to glide the hips forward and back. It does not have to be a comfortable range of motion, but chances are when you get them in a prone position and ask them to move, they're going to move the way they want to anyway. So less cueing is oftentimes more. And then of course coming back and then switching to the other side. And the reason why I'm actually showing you both sides, not that you guys necessarily need that, but when I send my clients videos, as I often do, if exercises are a little complicated for them, they like to do them in real time. So you could even send your client these, this link if you want to, as a little bit of homework. So that is the first hip decoupling exercise. The second one is going to be from a kneeling position. I like to use a dowel rod. Simply, it's a tactile thing. People like to touch, objects. They want to feel like they're working out. So give them something to focus on a little bit more. Just into a single leg kneeling position, and then slowly coming forward as far as the body possibly can, and then coming back. And again, the emphasis is on the hips, but if you have somebody that's a little congested through the thoracic spine, it's going to feel really good to get those scapula moving in a full range of motion as well. And we go into that kneeling position, so that way we can actually kind of gently ask the hips to change and separate from each other. If that makes sense. Same thing other side. So dowel rod's going to come forward, all kinds of great bending through the entire leg, and then sliding back. And then, like when I mentioned the hip position, you see how one hip is being pulled back, one hip is being pulled forward, or anterior and posterior tilt. So just really trying to get some great movement through the hips there. Okay, and then next let's go to the ground to standing drills. So pretty simply, ground to standing is exactly like it sounds. These are great for mobility. These are also great for moving fluid around. So if you have a client who has any type of inflammation, phenomenal. Have a person bring one foot up to the hand, press into that leg, try not to step the other one down, and come up. Reverse that same movement pattern, and then all the way down. Switching to the other side. Come up, and then come all the way down. So just doing that a couple of times. Again, repetitions are up to you. The way that I would suggest you do it is you watch your client, you teach them through the movement, and you see how many it takes to get the movement quality to be really good and really fluid. From there, you can go ahead and prescribe the number of reps. Because again, these are mobility type of exercises. Second, we did a seated one, front leg crossed over, and you went from seated all the way up to a lateral lunge, and then all the way back down to seated. So much like, it kind of almost reminds me of a Turkish getup in how the hips are actually moving. Okay, lots of movement through the lateral hip as well. Push into that hand, now load that hip, and then come on down. And for sake of time, I told you they could do this live, so I guess we do have to do it to this side. So same thing. Just nice and easy. Again, trying to find fluidity in that movement, so my hand probably should have come down before the foot on that one. That's being picky. Just get your clients to do some of these, and that'll be great. All right, and then the last one we did was a side plank to a front hop. So side plank position, bend into the knees, jump forward and stand. A lot of stability. Again, this would be what the team at the Institute of Motion would call a threshold 3 type of exercise. So it's not something you're going to put a very beginner person or anybody that has some major shoulder concerns into. But if you have a fairly fit athletic person with nice stable shoulders, have at it. And that's it, 3 ground to standing. So if you all have questions, you know where to find me. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can send me an email, give me a phone call. There's a metabolic demand on that one. Whew. Let me know what questions you have. Look at the Institute of Motion's webpage. Keep up with their Facebook page by all means. And try it out. Let me know what you think. Thanks.